Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the Inside Outside podcast with your host, your boy Rav, and Forbes Mr. Five Top Five Richest Person in the World, Ahmed. So, Ahmed, you've created many businesses in your days. I wanted to get your aspect on the mortgages. So, just a day ago, the USA Capital was now reopened. So, USA is reopened for business. We had successfully guessed this. If you look at our previous videos, as we guessed that it was going to be happening in the next day or two. So, we have successfully right on the money. Now, there's a lot of things that are coming out. Firstly, the stock market is up a little bit, but more importantly than the stock market is a very interesting thing that I didn't think anybody was thinking about, not even myself. I never realized the USA is now not going to be, they're trying to say they're not going to be releasing October's job numbers and employment numbers. So they are saying that they're not going to release them at all. If you remember my conversation correctly, I was telling you that the stock market will go up with the news that the government is back on. However, there's a potential chance the stock market could go down after hearing about the news that the USA stock
Job market.
exact job market and unemployment rate. Well, guess what? They may not release it at all, so you may not have a downturn at all. So when I continue to say the economy is being propped up, but the price will not go down, because they will not let it go down. This is what what I'm saying. If second thing you want to take from just my perspective before we start talking about mortgages, Trump yesterday's speech. Did you hear it by any chance as he reopened the government?
No, I did
Okay,
not hear it.
so no worries. Your boy Rav did. Okay, so your boy Rav had his speech. In his speech, he said 40 times this year, roughly, I think he said 40 times this year, the stock market has hit all-time new highs. This is the power of our government. So, do you want to bet against that man to not? You know what I'm saying?
Um, I think that he's hard to read, and I don't think a reflection in the stock market is a reflection in an increase in standard of living.
Yes. Well, like we've talked about before, the economy was going down, but right now I'm just preferably talking about the stock market. My assessment of the stock market will be that we are going to be continuously hitting all-time new highs
We are. I
because
agree with that.
the government will physically not let it go down. Right now, Mark Carney is actually he's supposed to be giving out a speech probably like in the next 15 minutes on four other
Interesting.
new major projects that are going to be built in Canada. So I'm very looking forward to seeing this. But I still think the biggest issue that Mark Carney is not doing is trying to poach businesses from the USA to do more business here. I'm talking about telecommunication networks. I'm talking about everything else.
They should be. They should be doing exactly what Mark Zuckerberg and OpenAI are doing, where they're looking
Where
for really
talent,
good talent,
yeah,
offering them really good
$100 million
deals, right?
for
Yeah.
talent. Yeah. $100 million for
I
talent.
think Saudi Arabia and all these countries that came and put trillions of dollars into the U.S. market, we should have at least some sort of proportional share. Obviously, we're not as large as America, we're a smaller country, but we should have investments pouring in. Can, I could say that I agree. I agree with what you just suggested. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Well, I'm looking at it. So again, at the end of the day, all we can do is speculate, right, and then see if something is going to happen the exact way we're saying it. But I think there's a very, very good chance that,
we've been, we've been really good speculators. I mean, if you
yeah,
guys watch the
exactly, yeah.
other,
I think
we've been
it's
on
because,
money.
yeah, I think people, again, that's one of the reasons why wanted to put it out here, right? So like next time I say you'll buy Oklo, and people buy Oklo, I have proof that hey, I called it out. But yeah, it's a very interesting proposition. Now, what are the
Buy
other?
RCAP.
Yeah.
Buy RCAP. That's one of other.
Yeah. No
I've
financial
personally,
advice, all right? If you believe in drone
no
warfare,
financial advice.
yeah, I was telling my friend yesterday about RCAT as well, and they said the thing to me, and they're like, "So you want to invest in warfare?" And I said, see, that's where you're mistaken. I don't want to invest in warfare. I want to invest in the future of the world, and that's gonna be drones. Whether it's Amazon drones, whether it's every drone, but one site of national security is drone production. And then I asked him the question. I said, "Well, do you want places like Afghanistan, or would you like places like China, or a place like Russia to be have way better drone capacity than us?" And they're like, "Well, no, I don't." And then I'm like, "See,
I want,
you do want
I
us
want
to
to
be
ask
better at drones."
I want to ask you. So you're basically asking questions to understand his psychology around why or why not he's invested. Was there any notion, or when he asked you this question that war is an evil thing and therefore I'm
I
not going to invest in
I,
it?
I think
Was that a
it's
notion
I
that
think it's like that. If I'm not lying. A lot of my friends that are Muslim, a lot of times want to stay away from drones and Arcad and stuff like that. And I've heard it consistently, right? And so, I
Yeah.
completely understand the reason, right? Like it's a very logical reason. Hey, I don't want to invest in something that might end up killing somebody else. And that's a very, very, very good. Not even a good argument. That's just a very good culture. That's a very good. How can I say it? Well, that very good human trait, not wanting to invest into
Yeah.
warfare, right?
The moral framework is a valid moral framework where
Exactly.
it's not
However, I don't
it's not
think people,
anti-societal.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think people see it as a like people don't actually see it as a national security, right? As you know, I'm a big believer in wanting free trade. I'm a big believer in keeping peace amongst things. But one of the reasons why nukes work for peace, and again, I don't like nukes, is because mutual destruction is a very, very, very good table to stand on, so that nobody actually does it.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
Hmm.
I understand what you're saying. The acronym is MAD, mutually assured destruction, where both these entities are have both have the looming threat that we could destroy each other, and therefore we should stop here before we
Yeah, and
end up.
I actually don't like I don't like missile testing. Like stuff like that is
No, yeah,
it's a very heavy burden that you're putting on, right? But if for example, if North Korea, if places that now again you could always say that, oh, who knows if these places are right or wrong, but if places that have known to in the past invade that, and America has tried to invade Canada before as well, like what was it,
yeah.
1812 or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is the
I
threat
would
of
say
mutual
2025.
yeah, the threat of mutual destruction is a very good way to make sure that nobody actually attacks. Right now, obviously, you gotta. It's better to not have anything, but what would you rather choose? Would you rather choose your enemies to have a arsenal that's twice the size, three times the size? Like again, we look at Russia, right? Russia, non-provoked. Now again, you could say, oh, NATO was getting closer or whatever, but a non-provoked war has been lasting for what, 4 years now, 3 years?
Are you talking about Cold War
Well,
related tactics?
Russia's war right now with Ukraine, it's been on for what, 2 to 3 years, right?
That's direct warfare. You were saying.
Yeah, that's direct. So that's what I'm saying. It's even the threat of direct warfare is still something that can happen, right? And so
It is, but it's weird. They're not. I mean, they do have nukes, and they don't escalate with it. That's within the nature of war, right? That's a
exactly
complex context.
because they know
And
as
what?
soon as they
That's
drop a
like,
nuke, they will get nuked as well, right? So the threat of that
yeah,
keeps the really dangerous weapons out of the territory, right? I would prefer no warfare, but I can guarantee you
yeah.
something. By not investing in warfare, you're indirectly increasing the chance of warfare, if that makes sense.
I watched this video, and it put up this idea that I want to share with the viewer.
Mhm.
And they said that the cost of actually solving human hunger, solving all these problems in society, like homelessness and so on, healthcare. Um, it would cost us very small amounts of money. Well, that's the estimate, right? We don't know exact numbers. This is just in theory. In comparison to how much we spend on war. Now, the U.S., the reason that RAV is well positioned in ARCAT is because the U.S. spends a lot more money on ensuring that it has the military capacity to remain a world reserve currency holder. And so it's only logical that his investment will go up. It's like a straightforward. And the people that wrestle with this idea of should I invest in this or not, they really should think about this notion of I'm a peaceful person, I'm a pacifist, and I will not touch war. But I think that you should be centered where if you are required to protect your loved ones, you should embody the positive societal like the good moral framework of protecting your family.
Hmm. The
And
self-defense
so,
versus attacking. I understand what you're
yeah,
saying.
I mean, you have to. Yeah, there's a lot of conflicts of you have to wrestle within your own understanding of whether or not you should invest in this kind of style of investment within war. And I think that what the video outlined is that if you were to solve all these problems, you would destroy the very fabric of economy. Economy relies upon someone not having and someone having. So it's embedded in the human psychology that we are going to go to war over and over again. It's a recursive pattern.
Yeah.
It's not something you could control. It's not something you could structure laws around. It just happened over in
You know,
history. And so,
I'm a
what
big
you do,
believer that eventually that we will be the last generation to ever see warfare. I truly do believe that. That's one of my big
I
beliefs.
hope, I hope
I
for
know,
that.
but
But as a result of what?
it's a very ambitious goal, right?
Interesting.
Yes, but
Why though? Why? What is the? That's
so
interesting.
I look at how the world is, okay, and so I'm going to give you my stated facts on warfare. Firstly, I'll tell you why it's so important to protect Canada, and it's even important to go to war. This is why. So the way that the Western society is, I truthfully do not believe there is any society in the entire world, in the entire history of time, that has been better. Not the best, because we still have yet to reach the best, but it still has been better than how American society runs with Western ideologies. Not every Western ideology, but in terms of love, sorry, what's that thing with culture, with the
That
diversity, with culture?
a sense of
Yes,
nationality, a narrative,
but
a
you
national
know,
narrative, a
Ronald
a
Reagan.
binding.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan said a beautiful quote, and this quote is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. He said, "There's only one place you can go to." He's like, "You cannot go to Italy and become Italian. You cannot go to this place and become this, but you can come to America and you can become an American." And man, it was beautiful, sweet. But the idea of multiculturalism in the way it is today is not shared
Yeah,
anywhere else in the world. Maybe one or two nationalities come together, but here, although there's still racism, there's still sexism, there's still all these problems that we will have to fundamentally deal with as a society. There has never been anything better than this, and I believe this is the right
I
direction we go.
genuinely think I cannot agree more with
Like,
you with this notion
Ahmed, you're
that
Muslim
we've become a
and
safer
I'm
place. Yeah,
Punjabi, and me and you have become
yeah,
such good friends. I love listening to you about your culture. And like literally before this, he was telling me this beautiful quote in his culture. And man, I love it. Nowhere else in history have our families and our own brothers and sisters have clashed before, and they still are clashing. And so that's why I believe fundamentally protecting this is the sanctity that we need to get to a better place. That's how we eventually get there. But this is why I believe that we will be the last generation of warfare in history. All right, and this might be hard to believe.
yeah.
The world has never been more peaceful than it is today. You hear Ukraine war, you hear a war on Hamas, Israel, you hear all of this, you hear China, you hear all of this, Taiwan, you hear everything. However, there has never been a more peaceful time on earth than here today. As society has grown, as the world has
Yeah,
grown, we all have
yeah.
we all have connections to everybody. You can talk to somebody from China today that was never been ever before in life. So you can report on things, so people can see right from wrong. There are established morals that majority of people agree on. So we can see here today and see, hey, Israel is throwing missile here, Hamas is throwing a missile here, Russia is throwing a missile here, and we can see objectively what's happening in the rest of the world. It's never been like that. You would never know what's happening in Punjab or what's happening here in Canada or what's happening in Mexico before in your life. And when we open up our borders like this, when we become globalist, this is what has exactly happened to the economy. You can,
I love
Ahmed, yeah, you can
I
go
love this
anywhere in the
narrative.
world, bro.
I would disagree with you on some
Uh-huh.
aspects
I
there.
knew you would. I knew you would. But I'll
No,
finish
but
up and then I'll let you go with your point.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you.
But as I mentioned today is the most peaceful we have ever been. And so there is a fundamental shift in how Western ideologies fundamentally have multiculturalism to the max. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but do you know what the top three? I think I already told you. What are the top three most uh, countries with the most amount of population?
China,
China. It's not number
India,
one. It's India is number one. China is number second. What's the third?
U.S.
Yes.
My bad.
So nobody would think that the US is, but the US is because it's full of immigrants. The USA has the most multicultural society on the face of the earth. And again, never in history has culture shared a place like this together. They've always been fighting war after war over land. And so I truly believe as we get more educated as a society, as we are able to see even more right from wrong, as we get old power. And what I mean by old power is old politicians who are warmongers and people who
Mhm.
are very nationalist towards their own ideologies, as we get them out of
Yeah.
power, we will consistently be able to grow into a better and better nation. And just as a nation, a better and better world. That's my personal belief. This is again what I'm trying to say by the end of our generations. But again, Ahmed, please feel free to speak.
So I believe that what Rav suggested is a very positive image, and I agree with the notionality that we should be striving to be better, and I
Hill
think
time,
as we get more nootropics and all sorts of
everything.
so as society becomes more and more educated, as people actually become, and here's the problem when I say this, the current education system I think doesn't even develop the correct aspects of
Mhm.
your uh, your intellectual side. It develops some of them, but it's not as effective. And I think that people should get educated, by watching YouTube channels or listening to conversations like this, or go and reading audiobooks, doing something within the realm of self-help, developing your character, going through tough times and allowing it to mold you into a stronger person. Um, and I think as you become more and more entrenched in this kind of activity, you become less racist. You become less focused on really weak or the really weak argument of like that I was born, I spawned into this random country and I have this super strong identity, and I use this identity as a way to narcissistically put down somebody else, and I feel good. Like I'm born in A, B, and C, and so I genuinely think as people become more and more aware of logical fallacies, like the you randomly spawn wherever you spawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the biggest tricks that people fall into, and if they were to get rid of the logical fallacy, would serve their best interest, is to understand that you could have been born in any other country, and for you to have a superiority complex over where you were born is complete like lack of intellect. I am hoping that less people lack intellect and more people have a more nuanced understanding, and then you get less racism across the board.
You
The
bring up a
micro, like
you
the
bring a
macro.
very very good point there, and I'll add on because I actually love what you said. It's truthfully, but even when we
Yeah,
talk about education, right? Although education isn't the best, it's still something. So you build a base
yes,
understanding,
I
right?
agree.
But
I agree.
self education has never been more readily available. Like Ahmed, in your work, in the history of the world, when is access to technology and access to the ease of being able to learn right and wrong been easier
Never,
time? Never. A
never.
lot of times in back in the day, they don't like a certain belief. What do? The dude's like, oh yo, the Earth is round, it's not flat. What do? They murked him and they burned all his books, right?
Which is horrible, right? He was
He
correct,
was correct,
and
but nobody
they
saw that,
still,
right? And so,
yeah,
yeah, and so, but in this day and age, even though a lot of people like when me and somebody can speak about political differences, right? I truly
yeah,
do believe I can see somebody outside of political difference. It's the same way as somebody's like, oh, I don't prefer pineapple on pizza. I prefer pineapple pizza. You don't hate somebody for
exactly,
it, and you should never hate
exactly,
somebody towards a political opinion either. There's
yeah,
reasons why people get there, but again, we have the ability to have a conversation. Back in the day, do you know in the like when I go to the UK, there's this thing.
yeah.
Ahmed, if you ever go to the UK, man, I highly recommend it. But it's so beautiful to stay to just walk around it because it's just
Yeah,
old buildings. I know you'll enjoy it as much as I do. But
yeah,
there's this place called London Dungeon, okay? And there's
yeah.
this other place that's called the Tower of London. And so these are like these are it's like it's like a show, all right? So it's not like a show where you sit down. It's like an interactive show, and so you go through this whole thing, and it goes over the history. Be back in the day, the king didn't like a certain somebody. They cut their head off and put it on a stake, and they would leave it, and people would walk around with this stake that they figure out how to not let it decay, so people can see the face of the traitor. And they would, this is on show. This is what they used to do back in the day. I'm not even talking about so many years ago. I'm talking about 100, 200 years ago. This was the way that the world worked. And so people was very nuanced to nobody really cared about death. I can tell you for a fact, although like some people talk about victim mentality where like, oh, if you see somebody getting hurt, a lot of people don't want to help because they're scared themselves, right? I can tell
Yeah,
you
yeah.
it's still frowned upon here. So there are still a lot of tough people who will help in those generations, but nobody would
You're
stand.
bringing up the most interesting conversation. I want you to. I'm going to give you a question.
Uh-huh.
We're going to add to the conversation. You're
Uh-huh.
going to build around it.
Uh-huh.
Um, do you believe in the notion of strong men bring
Good
good times
times.
bring weak men, and weak men
Weedman.
bring bad?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
it's a very
You
interesting.
are optimistic about the current generation's
Mhm.
strength. I see what you're saying.
But
Yeah,
like some people will be easy to dismiss the strong men build good times, right? And you know whether you want to say strong women, I don't really care. I'm just referring to the human race when I say this.
people in general. Yeah, and I don't mean to
But
be. You're right.
this is what I don't think people understand. Some people say, oh, I disagree with that. But if you ask people, oh, is it better? Like, what happens when you spoil a kid? People are like, oh, the kid loses all the money. They're spoiled. It's very easy for somebody to say, oh, a rich kid is going to be spoiled. But wait a second, when you talk about somebody treating somebody with love and respect versus somebody who sees hard times, you're telling me they're
Yeah,
not going to be different? Yes, exactly. So I find people disagree each other based on emotion and not based on logic. So you have to look at it in a certain sense. So it is true, right?
okay.
If we build a
Yeah,
better society, like truthfully, we did build better society in World War II. Like I mentioned yesterday, it's so funny you brought it up. What the grandma said, she lost 6 of her best years from 19 to 25 because the war was going on. Everybody was dying. But then after that, because of the sacrifice that many people made on her behalf, she lived the rest of her 70 lives in pure love and happiness. And why? Even if you have nothing, even if you have nothing, but you're able to see outside of that and you're able to work hard for what you do, you get really happy. You don't need it. Versus somebody who's not like people always talk about this with cars, right? If you're always driving Lamborghinis and you're gonna have to take the bus, it's gonna really suck, right? But somebody who's working hard towards a goal loves being on the bus. It wouldn't make a single difference.
I love the notion that you're bringing up this
Mhm.
idea of, and I just mentioned this really quick, and you carry on.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, One of the things that psychologists see within rich kids that are
Uh-huh.
born into rich families, is that they feel like there's meaninglessness. Everything feels empty. It's just a lack of. Um, it's like when you eat too much food or you're given too much wealth, the food starts to taste less and less good, and it feels empty. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like you're enjoying. Only the thirsty man loves water.
It's very true, right? There's a good quote. I like it. The quote's like decent, but it's like being in the desert will
Yeah,
make you remember
yeah,
water more than being surrounded by water ever will. And so
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, and it's a very good quote, right? But again, this is how I think that society is, right? And so, but I do believe that people, such like you and me, we have not never seen true warfare. We've been so fortunate for that because our parents most likely left those places to avoid warfare. My dad, I know for he left Punjab at a time where Punjab was very very unstable, and he wanted to make sure that his future family was going to be in a position that they're going to be very happy, and that's why he chose Canada to settle down because he saw that future here in Canada. There's a reason why your parents brought you here as well, right? And we're so fortunate for that. But we can't take that for just
granted.
we can't, and that's why like you have to be advocate to remember that hey, we live in such good position. Although everybody here in Canada complains about house prices, man, we're so lucky that we're not in a place where people can just raid your house and just take it. We
There's
have
there's a thing. There's. I need to bring this up because I feel like you've. I agree with you in the notional sense that we should appreciate what we have and not take what we have for granted. But I think that there are through the humans expression. Um, the what do I mean? Humans express themselves in a variety of ways. But there's a manipulative side to the human psychology. If you were to address the human collective,
mhm.
there's a part of us that is more likely to, uh, you know, cut off ties and do destructive. They're more destructive, and I think that they are magnetized to higher positions of power.
Mhm.
And within the current framework, my opinion sits that we need to take them out and replace them with people of good character that are willing to sacrifice. And the problem is when someone's a really good liar, or like for example a politician. I don't mean to call out any politician in
Hey, you're
particular.
calling me out, buddy. What the fuck?
No,
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 no, I'm joking.
I did not mean to call you out, but um,
Future politician, okay? We're the ones who
no,
make the
no.
difference.
I think Rav is the person of good character that needs to be replaced. Put into replace the
I
current
appreciate
infrastructure. That's my
your I
opinion.
appreciate your vote, Armin. I appreciate your vote. But
But
yeah.
a
Sorry,
sign of
sorry, continue.
a really good liar, sorry, is that they'll mix truthhood with lies. They'll tell you a truth, and then they'll mix in a lie that you will assume is a truth based off of the truth that he just suggested. You know what I mean? An obvious truth. And so right now, I think we exist in a time, and the reason that I think the data didn't come out with Trump is because I've seen this um, depicted in a chart where stock market goes up and the job market follows up until a point, up until the AI revolution, where as soon as the AI came out, jobs kind of declined.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing the manifestation of the selfish side of Silicon Valley, and the selfish side of Silicon Valley is seen as efficient because it gets rid of people's jobs and replaces them with AI. So
I'll just add a quick point to this because this is outside of the
yeah,
conversation that we're having, but I really do disagree. If you're unaware, I
wait,
don't know if you're aware or not.
disagree or agree?
No, no,
I
no, no.
didn't hear you say
I
this or
agree,
this.
but I want to add on to a point.
Yeah,
Like again, I don't know if you know this is what I'm trying to say. It's
yeah,
a lot of people don't realize. Do you know what happens when a company lays off a bunch of people that's in the S&P 500 or a big company? The stock price goes up because that's less people they have to pay, so there's more money for the shareholders. So so a lot of people don't realize.
yeah.
Yeah, so when you're always talking about as the AI gets better and better, we're gonna see more and more job loss. You're also gonna see the
Yeah.
valuation of companies go up because the biggest cost to any business is employees. And so what
Yeah.
happens when you're firing a bunch of people? Meta's firing a bunch of people, Google's firing a bunch of people, Amazon is, and you don't see their stock price be like, oh, yo, these guys are firing a whole bunch of people. What the hell? It's because it's truthfully, you have to ask yourself, who cares? And the people who care are the people losing their jobs, but the shareholders are not the ones caring. If you're buying their stock and your job is very well,
Yeah,
how much times have you thought about all the people who lost their jobs in Amazon?
not too much time, yeah.
Yeah.
But I like what you put forth there, but I think that it reflects a poor quality of life for the average consumer. When I mean
Mm-hmm.
average, middle class, and poor, and one of the things that you have to understand is the time horizon in which you fit. Where in the rise and fall of an empire are we at? And this is Ray Dalio's work, and I think we're nearing the end. It's just my
Yes.
opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I learned about online is through this guy called Ibrahim Bezbianov.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about ideological subversion, and it is a meticulous process that is part of indirect warfare. So I'll explain some of the stuff that Ray Dalio talks about, such as economic warfare is a version of indirect warfare, but it's pretty direct if you understand.
Mm-hmm.
Tariffs are the first indication of war, but one of the war tactics that was developed during the Cold War was manipulation tactics. And there's a reason I talked about a really good liar. A really good liar tells you a truth and then mixes in falsehood, mixes in lies, and he packages it and people swallow it up. And if you fall prey to this, which is they're very effective because they studied this, meticulously studied this. I mean, they were the most paranoid two countries ever, right? Um, America said that they got to the moon and so on, but ideological subversion. And you should go watch Ibrahim Bezmianov's work. He's a KGB guy
Mm-hmm.
that defected and he went and talked about this stuff. And he said that the first phase is demoralization. And I love this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. If I rattle on, let me know. I really want to show
You
let the
got
viewer
a
think about
whopping
this.
4 minutes, buddy, until we hit the 30 minute mark.
Wow.
We
Yeah,
failed at
really enjoyed
mortgages
the
today,
conversation.
guys, so we're gonna leave that topic for tomorrow. I really like this philosophical conversation we're having today. So it's well worth it.
So, back to demoralization. Demoralization is, as outlined by Bezmenov, a 15-year process where they use all sorts of media
Propaganda.
infrastructure to degrade the moral under like the standard of morality. So people went from watching like Shakira was more covered up when she used to dance on the, and then the new generation's completely naked. One of the techniques that
You generous.
exactly, but this is outlined. This is outlined in
I'm just getting ready
one
some
of
of
the.
Radial's books because I feel like if anybody is really interested, there's a lot of really good books that I recommend, and so we'll give it to them afterwards.
Are you familiar with one of the Greek or Roman philosophers? I forget. One of them said that a way to completely destroy society from the inside without shooting an arrow or attacking is to make like sexuality available to the young.
Yeah, I've heard of this one as well.
So demoralization's basis is on this. And that's just one side of the so they want to comprehensively demoralize you. They want you to forget the values that you have between the family unit, nuclear home, the mother, father, son. And one of the ways that they do that is they make Homer Simpson look very stupid. I know that it sounds very vague, but I'll explain what I'm saying. If you look at all the shows that we watch, the man in the house is usually very dumb, depicted as stupid. Homer Simpson in The Simpsons, Family Guy, Peter Griffin, Rick and Morty, the father. I could go on forever. But what they're trying to do is subconsciously cook into your head that your father is not someone you should respect because he lacks intellect. Now, I really, my opinion on the masculine, I'll say this very quickly, is that it's not how much you could bench or how much you could lift or how flashy you are, the Hollywood style masculine, or smoke a cigarette, get cancer. It's the masculine is the protector. And the way that the best way you could be the masculine and be a protector is be very, very financially abundant,
Mm-hmm.
provider, and have an intellect that you're continually building, just like a body. Build a physique that's bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
Build an intellect that's bulletproof. And what they're trying to do is attack you from subconscious levels and tell you that your dad is not someone you should respect.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain point where um, this infects the society. On the micro, it infects other. Friends start to talk to each other, and then this fractals out the pattern. And on the micro, it affects the macro, and so we become destabilized. And an indication for me, a litmus paper test, which is a test that you do for acidity, and a way to gauge something. um, is that the divorce rate within the Western society is a 50% divorce rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is because they tampered with it. The manifestation of the human psychology that is more frequently going to be psychopathic or sociopathic has gained the power structure of media, and they've been able to indoctrinate you on a subconscious level. And the best way to understand how to defend yourself is to listen to podcasts, um, and just self-help books, and defend yourself, defend your family. Find a way to have your family exist without any of the subconscious warfare that they're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the democracy, the aspects of democracy that Rav brought up, where me and you can be friends regardless of our disagreements. We don't have to agree. It's only the people that lack um, depth of perception that will label someone as an enemy just based off of a change in perspective. Like Charlie Kirk died because someone didn't like what he said. Like, holy crap. There's so many people that say so much shit. You don't have to go and become violent.
Mm-hmm.
One of the characteristics of the low IQ is that they jump to violence right away. You do not want to be low IQ.
Yeah. And
One of the
I'll say
characteristics
it's something even myself. Like back when I was upset, I would punch stuff and break stuff. And man, what kind of and like that was a big fault of mine for a very long time until I decided one day, guess what? No one told me. I knew it was wrong, and I'm like, why am I being an idiot?
it's
Truthfully,
really hard. It's really hard. You know, the frontal lobe
yeah.
is it's a processor.
But the more educated you're able to
When you
make
get
yourselves
angry,
on, huh? Not
no,
anymore. But back
I
in the
really want to
day,
bring this up.
yeah,
It's not a reflection of you,
yeah,
Rav.
yeah.
When
But
you get
here,
physically angry, your frontal lobe turns off. This is a scientific fact. But
uh-huh.
so I think you're one of the sharpest guys ever. But when you get angry, when I get angry, I could become the dumbest version of myself.
I think that's true for everybody, right? When you let stupidity
Yeah,
dictate,
yeah.
because I think that's a human trait, and it's a beautiful trait as well. It's you love something so much you're willing to defend it like with stupidity, but I think people forget the fact that the whole journey of the human being is by eventually making yourself into the best version possible, even if you don't start off
Yes.
that way. And I used
Yeah.
to just consider myself that I'm an angry dude. What the hell is good giving yourself a label like that? It's not good at all, right? Yeah, you
No,
bring
no,
up
it's not.
very interesting points with like with how they make men look stupider. And again, I don't have any to be honest opinion on that, but like it's a very interesting point you brought up there. But like
I think
when
I
people
think the viewer and you are. This is it's part of this is on the web, but it's very hard to get to. I don't blame you.
yeah,
I bet you 90% of our viewers have not heard Ibrahim Bezmianov,
uh-huh,
and I honestly don't blame you. But I'd love to talk more
yeah,
about this with you
on the
and with the
next
viewer.
pod
But
because
continue.
we're way
Sorry.
over. But yeah, last one point that I want to give off just before we're done, and then one point I wanted to just state out for you guys is damn, now I'm just having forget. Okay, here. So even like you're mentioning listening to podcasts and reading books, and but the reason why I love podcasts, and I'll explain this to you guys once. You in a book, somebody sat there for hours and hours to write down the perfect sentence the perfect way, and it's very easy to misinterpret how somebody writes something because they've
Yes.
perfected how to say it. So you don't really know
Mhm.
what's their real mind. And I still love books, man. Trust me, I've read in just this year. I think I've read over 80 books. So it's a lot of books, and I have dyslexia, so I can't read properly, but I listen to I have audiobooks in my ear all the time. But anybody who knows you knows I have headphones on all the time. I'm always listening to something. But the reason why I love podcasts, it's because if you're let's just say you're listening to a political debate, or if you're listening to anything for anything history or just science, it's very easy for somebody to bullshit for 30 minutes. It's very easy. They can recite the exact same thing. It's very hard for someone to bullshit for 3 hours and continuing to reply to different questions on the matter, right? So whether you're on the
Yes.
left,
Yes.
whether you're on the right, yeah, when you're on a podcast, you put yourself in a predicament where you're going to say things the wrong way, but how you truly mean it. And that's what I want to know. I don't want to hear how you have a blanket statement. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. What are you actually going to do? How are you going to do it? What do you think the ideas are going to be? And when you have places, people for a long time speaking, it's very hard for them to lie to you. And you can hear it. So whether it's from us,
Yes.
whether it's from
Yes.
anybody, listen to the pods, listen to anything you can, but don't make a decision based on one thing you're hearing, even if you love the person. Because man, I trust me. What's that thing? A pre-existing notion is very hard to overthink. If you don't believe in what Charlie Kirk
Yes.
said,
Yes.
that's okay. but you need to
Yeah,
listen
yeah.
to his stuff. You need to listen to people who don't like his stuff, and then you can make a decision for yourself on what you truly agree with. But don't just hate a man for who he is or hate a woman for who she is. Listen to
For what they
everything.
believe. Yeah, it's not nothing exactly.
Exactly. And that's why I do agree on the podcast. The most educated thing you can do is listening to the most educated people speak freely, not under a closed mic, not under an edited video. And that's one of the reasons we don't edit these videos. I want you to know that Ahmed might have said something really stupid. I might have said something really, really stupid. And we're going to put it on
Exactly.
here
Yeah.
because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. But like, I want you to see the authentic version of us, not somebody who you're going to see. And I think that's why a lot of people nowadays, and sorry, last thing I'm going to say, relate to streamers a lot. Like iShowSpeed, there's a bunch of them. But I think the reason why they relate to them a lot is although they're still acting, I would hope that guy's acting when he's barking on the ground. But it's very hard to not be authentic for 12 hours a day on a live stream. So that builds viewership because it builds trust, right? But he doesn't talk about anything decisive, which keeps everybody there, right? I think it's the more you try to give your opinion, the more people will attack you, stating that,
Disagree,
oh, this
yeah,
is what
yeah.
you think is fact, right? But it's a necessity, right? So one of the reasons we make this podcast is so people will call me stupid, people will say I'm an idiot. I'm waiting for them. I'm more than happy to talk with them, right? Because again, I
Both
love their
sides exist.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Devil's advocate.
yeah, man. But
I really want to add this because I know we're running out of time.
yeah.
But
Go for it. Go for it.
what Rav said is if they can't talk beyond 30 minutes about a topic, they don't have a nuanced understanding.
100%.
And another angle is one of the people that was shot down early, and they were very visionary. They saw to the future. Was Leonardo da Vinci because he never came up with art that was substantiated within his time frame.
Yeah,
He was
it was
never
after he was
put
dead.
in the million. And the reason being is because he understood chemistry, he understood kinesiology, he understood everything that went into the real process of drawing art.
I went
And,
to a Leonardo da Vinci exhibit here in Calgary. It
yeah,
came in the Tennis Park Center. It was beautiful. If it ever comes again, guys, highly recommend it. But
the
this
reason
guy
I'm
was,
saying this,
yeah,
sorry, is that he is so multifaceted in problem solving. He has a high level of understanding or efficacy in every single space, and he shoots them all, beams them down one barrel, and he could get a thesis down from multiple angles. And that person could talk about anything for longer than 30 minutes.
100%. And I'd say it's a very good idea bringing him up. But yeah, guys, if you want to listen to some books that would really change the way you think about things, Ray Dalio is a fantastic author. He is fantastic. Some of the best books I've read are from him. I'd say top 10. Principles is a fantastic one. You must read that. It truly is one of the best economy books I think ever written. The Changing World Order is another really good one. I know that one is one of Ahmed's favorite books. And the other one I'd recommend that I've read is The Principles of Navigating a Big Debt Crisis. That one actually was a little fearful for me as well. That was the first book that made me afraid because I was like, oh damn man, I'd put on a lot of debt. Is it a good idea? But then you come out to your own ideas and you see what is actually required. I have not read this book, but I'm going to be reading this book about Principles of Success. Sounds like something that's very optimistic, and you know me, I'm an optimistic guy. So just seeing this on here is probably going to be the next book I read.
So the reason I think Rav is going to say the most articulate shit is because he has a high standard of efficacy from multiple angles. In the books that he reads, he develops multiple angles, more nuance.
Yeah, because I debate him, right? I debate him in my head. Like Ray Dalio, it's very hard to debate one of the richest people and the smartest people in the world, right? But you ask questions, and then the beautiful thing. This is the only reason I really love books. When you read nonfiction books, you actually see what their future predictions are. So, man, one of the things that made me realize that Ray Dalio is a genius, and another reason why I respect him so much is what he has said in his book of Principles that came out in 2017 has transpired majority to what has happened up to today. And that is insane. Having a prediction for 10 years is incredible, right? And so that's what I just want you guys to understand is don't rely on books for knowledge, but look on them to find out who you should learn from. And then the heroes that are alive today, those are the people you should learn from. But guys, we're just about to hit 40 minutes. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Ahmed, thank you. Fantastic for all these amazing questions. This was one of the best pods. I consistently keep thinking every podcast we do is just consistently getting better and better. Just the way we're able to actually speak freely.
I love that aspect. Please subscribe, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Have a great
Rav,
day,
I
guys.
couldn't have a better partner in crime.
Appreciate it.
Insider Outsider podcast out.